Hey everyone. Welcome to Scot Free. We just released our sports betting models. We use machine learning models, so I'll go over some of the abbreviations. But first, just to let you know that we publish our game predictions every day before 12:30 p.m. EST. Um, and we have three bet types. We have over under, we have spread, and we have money line. So let's get right into it. So you're at the Scot Free homepage. First thing, of course, is click on game predictions. Okay, so here you'll see our 6 leagues, and you'll see the matrix here for each type of bet. So we have MLB, NBA, NCAA men's basketball and football, NFL, and NHL. Um, so if we were to look at one model that's been pretty successful lately, let's go to NBA over under. So each page is organized into 3 sections. So you'll see the predictions for today. So today is March 16th. And then you'll see a results section. So this basically gives you the last 2 weeks of results, whether or not the game was over and under. And you can look at the color coding, and sometimes you can actually detect patterns from observing the over-under results. Finally, you have our summary. And the summary is pretty much the most important thing you need to look at in terms of how the models are doing. So we'll go through each of these fields, but let's start right from the top, okay? So here we are. This is for betting on NBA over-unders. And you'll see, of course, the date, away team, home team, what the over-under itself is, and then how much is it to bet with the overline, and of course with the underline. Now, the next 7 columns represent our machine learning models that we use historical data. Basically, we go back as far as we can because the more data, the better when it comes to machine learning. So these are all acronyms for the type of model. And if you're interested in, one day we'll talk about each of the machine learning techniques. But I'll just go through the abbreviations right now. So this first thing, this blend model, this is an average of all the probabilities of all the other models. So this basically says it looks at the predictions for each of the other models and it just averages them. But you can see there are quite distinct ranges based on the type of model we're using, because that's what we wanted to do. We want to look at different machine learning techniques to give us a model mix. So this is Cat Boost. Cat Boost is a gradient boosting model. It works with categorical variables. RF is random forest. This uses a collection of decision trees. This LGB is like GBM. That's what's called a gradient boosting model. This is our what's called logistic regression. This is XGBoost. XGBoost is another gradient boosting technique. It's also a gradient booster like LGB, but XGBoost is much more disciplined about assigning probabilities, and you can see there's a very tight range for NBA over under. Then this XT is extra trees, so this also uses decision trees. I recommend that you go to our article for expected value. Expected value basically works like this. You have your own prediction of the probability of whether or not someone is going to go over or under, right? So if we were to look at logistic regression for the Wolves Jazz today, it's predicting that the game will go over, and that's 60.2%. Now you're going, what what does that mean when we talk about positive and negative? So this is the terminology we've adopted, and please let us know in the feedback whether it's confusing. But as you know, most bettors, they actually prefer home games, favorites, and also overs. So in this case, what we consider a positive bet is an over, and then a negative bet as an under. So it kind of makes sense. This expected value is if you put $100 on the over, what would you get over time on average? So in this case, it's actually a negative return. You'd lose $8 for every bet. But remember, that doesn't mean that this is a failed bet. It just means that when we do our numbers, the difference between the implied probability and our probability, we're just saying, hey, you really don't want to bet the over in this case, right? Now, in some cases, you'll have negative numbers for both columns, right? And that's typically going to happen when you have pretty much equal probabilities, right? So you can see the blended model here is almost at 50%, so 50-50. So in this case, you're just going to lose money based on the VIG alone. And we'll get more over time into talking about what these terms mean. But if you look at something like Knicks Kings, here the expected value for an over is very negative, and you'll see why in a second when we go over the summaries. So you'll see that in some cases you will also have positive expected value positive bets, but that hasn't been happening lately with NBA over under. Okay, so far so good. Remember, positive is over, negative is under. So think of it in terms of what do people mostly bet on, right? That's a positive bet. And then what do others do when they're going against the grain, so to speak? And we refer to that as a negative bet. Okay, um, so just a couple of data points here. So you can see here, let's just take an example. So Washington Wizards, Chicago Bulls, the over-under is 225.5 points. And the CAT boost, which is the categorical boosting model, is predicting that this model will be over with a 61% probability. Well, what you're going to find out here is there are good models and bad models. And we want that, right? Because basically, if you have a really bad model, you can fade it. And the fact is that we've had several clients who have been very successful looking at the model trends and basically fading what these predictions say. And you'll see that in the actual summary down here, right? So if we go to the summary, this is the way it works. So basically all these models for all sports, we basically went live last October. So since October 2023, and you'll see we've already, at least for the NBA, we've had over 1,000 games to see how the models are doing. And the good news is if you look at basically the winning percentage just on their own, we consider XGBoost to be the Cadillac of models. It's also the go-to model in the data science and machine learning world. So, we tend to put most of our focus on XGB, but we look at the other models to kind of like contextualize our bets. So in this case, overall, across all the games, XGB has a 54% winning percentage. This fade percent is just basically if you add these two columns together, you get 100%. So we're just saying if you choose to go the opposite direction of XGBoost and fade it, you would have a 45.8% success rate overall. Okay. Now, this is what we consider the critical information, um, right? So how successful are over bets, right? The positive percentage versus how successful are under bets. And you can see that in almost all cases that going with the under is going to give you the edge. Uh, so you can see, look at extra trees here. In fact, one of my acquaintances right now is using XGB and XT in combination and had a pretty good streak. And it was just fascinating to see the way that he combined the models to derive a pretty high winning percentage. So, right, so this is basically now we're saying how the over bets do, how the under bets do since we've started, okay? So we split it up that way. Now, the other thing about this is that momentum matters too. Models, not a lot of people tell you this, but models come in and out of favor. And we did an analysis where, say for the NBA in the fall, you could see that the momentum was for overs. So during the fall, overs generally very strong as the season kicks off. But then what's happened is after the All-Star break in the last month is that the unders have been crushing it. And in fact, if you go up here and you look at the over-under results, you can see there's a lot of red. Now, there's, once in a while, obviously, that's going to happen. But overall, this has been a month of underperformance. So this is saying, how is our winning percentage over the last week for these models, okay? So look at this. Cat Boost, which has not been a great performing model. If for any of the Cat Boost positive probabilities, when I say that over 0.5, look at this. It only has a 28.6% winning percentage. So if you look up here and say, Cat Boost is predicting 60.8% for the Wizards Bulls to go over, I'm obviously going to fade that. I'm going to be going on under there because Cat Boost has not been performing well. So I'm just going to say, okay, I'm just going to fade it. And look at this. This is just over the past week. The only thing is I caution against just using the last week. We are in the NBA, so if you figure on average like 8 games a day times 7. So this is basically the stats for the last 50 games or so, right? But I think even a better model is looking at the 4-week rolling average of how these things do. And here's the incredible stat. Cat Boost for the last 4 weeks has won a measly 27.5% of the time. So you basically like saying, okay, Cat Boost, anytime you give me a high probability, I'm going under. So, and to reflect what I've been saying, if you look at the under percentage for the last 4 weeks, right? So over the past 28 days, so about 220, 230 games, look at these percentages. It doesn't matter what model, even lowly Cat Boost here has a 50% winning percentage on predicting unders, okay? And like I said, some people have been using this XGB XT strategy to basically make bank over the past 4 weeks. But I would caution, this is the last 4 weeks. One reason we put the 1 week in here is you can have these very sudden reversals, and you never know when a model is going to change its trend, right? Technically, I would go down here and say, listen, I'm going to keep betting what's hot until I see evidence that it's reversing, right? So in this case, look at Random Forest. Overall, yeah, it's a marginal winner in predicting over-unders, but you can see it just had a very good week. So it'll be very interesting to see how the random forest does over the next couple weeks. But like I said, I tend to focus on this stat over here, like what is doing well the last 4 weeks, and you can see. Look at this, 34.9% for the blended model. This is the average of all the other models, and if you faded, basically, anytime blend was over 0.5 probability, 50%, you're basically saying, no, I'm going under whatever blend is in positive territory, and you'd have won 65% of the time. Okay, so I'm going to stop there for now. Please feel free to explore all other just over sports, and you can pick the league and bet type and see what's going on here. Of course, right now we've got MLB. We're collecting preseason on that. We've got the NBA, NCAA. We've got the tournament coming up, but that's about to come to an end. And of course, we still have the NHL going as well. So I'm going to stop there. Please feel free to go to our homepage and give us any feedback here. Most of the feedback so far has been, hey, just instead of giving me all these probabilities, just give me some picks. And we're going to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a scanner for all the different leagues. And bet types, we're going to look at expected value. We're going to look at the 4-week historical performance. And that way you'll have to measure like the actual winning percentage in a simple format. Okay? All right. Well, thanks for listening, watching, and happy betting. Take care.